Hello there and welcome back to the Riviera International Centre, Torquay, for Digital Devon live from the Devon Chamber of Commerce. My name's Paul Philpott. I'm your host for the day. Now, coming up, we've still got loads of live streams. We've done one earlier, which we were talking about the human side of AI. I'll tell you what this one's about in a few moments, but let me give you a little bit of the menu ahead. At about 11:45, we're going to be looking at cybersecurity, protecting your business in a digital world. Very, very important. Then at about 1:45, after we've all had a good lunch, we're going to ask the question, what's next, specifically with regards to our environment, our area here down in Devon. So what's next? The future of digital and AI in the Southwest. And then at around about 3:15 this afternoon, we're going to have a recap of all the things we've learned, no doubt all the questions that we've yet to answer, because there are more questions being raised than there are answers today, and because we are in a very fast changing landscape. So we'll be introducing the organisers of the event and having a nice little summary of how things went, which at the moment isn't going too badly, I must say. So let's introduce to you our second panellist. The topic of this particular segment is called From Hype to ROI. That stands for Return on Investment. Making digital investment pay off. And we've got Alex here from DATA³. Alex, I always look at your logo, Alex, all right? Yeah. And it's the data with the 3. And is it data 3 or data? Yeah. But it's definitely data. Tell us a little bit about yourself and also the business.
Yeah, well, thanks very much for having me.
You're welcome. Come in a bit closer to the mic so we can hear your dulcet tones. That's brilliant, fantastic. Okay, take it away.
So I'm Alex Smith. I'm the business development leader at DATA³, and we are a Bristol-based data and AI consultancy. So working with SMEs across the UK to help them create value from their data that's often spread across many different systems in their businesses. These days, I think companies have grown over a period of time and added on lots of different tools, CRM systems, finance system, ERP, project management, etc. So data is often spread across businesses and many Excel spreadsheets. So helping business leaders gain value from that.
I love a spreadsheet. Yeah,
I used to as well.
Yeah.
And then also from an AI perspective as well. A lot of the conversations I'm having, business leaders are saying, we really want to be able to use AI more effectively in the business, which that either can be training and unlocking their team, or it's automating workflows and building agents that can help replace some of the more dull, boring tasks. So my role really is finding new businesses for us to work with and helping those business leaders implement data and AI into their companies more effectively.
Okay, right, let's jump straight to it then, because everybody wants to know about ROI, especially if you're a director of a firm. It always gets raised in the boardroom. So how do you go about measuring ROI then when it comes to digital and AI?
Yeah, it's a great question, and to sort of reiterate what you've said there, it's one of the most common challenges I receive. So I'm often working with either the C-suite, CEO, CFO, CTOs, or head of. By
the way, they're people from boardrooms. It's not like he's not listing a few characters from Star Wars.
Yeah. And so often I'm helping those people and supporting them having discussions with their board. So they're often getting a lot of challenge from people that are essentially critiquing the investment that they're going to be putting into technology and into data and AI. And so there's 3 main ways that we often look at generating return on data and AI projects. One of them is, what is the time that you're going to be able to save? And I mean, at DATA³ we have a concept called the human bullseye, which is in line with the digital pledge that has been announced today about a human-led and human by design, like
human in the loop.
Human in the loop. Yeah. HITL, I think is the
It's going to be acronym. Has everybody got a bingo card with all these acronyms written on them?
Exactly. I'll spell it out. But essentially, that human bullseye, there are activities, tasks, things that should, in an organisation, that should absolutely still be done by a human, and that is often the secret sauce of a business and their USP. And we are huge advocates for ensuring that is secure and kept being done by humans. But around that kind of bullseye, there's often a lot of more mundane, time-consuming manual tasks that can be automated. So what time can you save from automating those tasks? And it's about, businesses are wanting to scale, that maybe they're wanting to double their revenue, but they're not wanting to increase headcount at the same proportion. So I think it's a very contentious topic with AI about people being made redundant and people being scared about that as well, which I totally understand. And I think speaking to a lot of the business leaders across the Southwest, that's not the angle that they're looking for at all. But I think they are looking to try and grow without the proportional increase in headcount. So one of the ways of measuring ROI is what time can you save people, and therefore perhaps not hiring a future role. The second is how can you increase your revenue through better decision making, a competitive advantage, responding quicker to quotes. So revenue generation is the second element, and then thirdly it's about risk. So where as a business can you perhaps foresee risk that you might not have seen before, might be able to prevent customer attrition and losing some key clients. That there's lots of different ways that through better data and AI processes you can actually reduce the risk of an organisation. So I think those three main ways, time saving, increasing revenue and reducing risk, is the key way that we encourage our champions and our stakeholders to present to their boards.
When you run a business and you're thinking about deploying AI, utilising AI products and services and whatever, how do you go about identifying the genuine AI solutions as opposed to the things that just algorithms or what always existed normally, but a marketeer's got hold of it and slapped AI on the logo, and it isn't actually AI, it's just the trendy thing. My washing machine's got it apparently, and it's just not. Yeah. How do you figure out the fact from the fiction?
Yeah, I think that's a really key question actually, and something that I think businesses are struggling with a little bit, and I empathise with it lots. There's so much noise and so much hype to the title of this talk as well. The way that we approach it is to be business-led, so top-down, so not tech-led, not saying, we want to use AI, let's work out how to use it. It's, okay, this is what we're trying to achieve as a company. We're trying to increase our revenue by 20%, or we're trying to improve our customer service, or what are the top-level metrics that as an organisation you are trying to achieve? And then it's about understanding, well, how can data and how can AI help you improve those or reach those goals. And so it's having a clear objective and then narrowing it down to say, okay, well, what are the blockers to achieving those top KPIs, those top metrics? Okay, are they speed blockers? We can't move quick enough. We've recently worked with a loan provider who couldn't process their loan applications quick enough. That's a bottleneck that you need to increase speed. Is it knowledge? Our staff, our team don't have access to the right knowledge, or our client base don't. What is the type of problem that is blocking us from reaching those key objectives? And then how can you use your data better, or use AI to unlock those and come up with solutions to those blockers?
You mentioned speed with regards to an actual result of utilising AI. But would you not say it's very important that when it comes to speed, organisations, when they integrate AI solutions, they don't necessarily undertake that stage with just speed? They have to kind of work through the roadmap, the steps that they need to do it in the right way, in particular with regards to any legislative overheads that there might exist. You can't just switch on the AI product and expect it to work. There's due diligence and processes that have to go to. And I can imagine, a bit of an additional plug for yourselves. That's where you'd reach out to a firm like DATA³ to come on board with that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think 80-90% of the conversations that I'm having with business leaders at the moment is about how can they create that roadmap, how can we help them create that, and often that is taking a step back because they've spent maybe the last 6 months where a couple of people often in the business are big AI champions and advocates, and they've been experimenting, and then suddenly the leadership team are like, okay, actually we need to, we know this is coming.
But sometimes that's experimenting at home using ChatGPT to make some photographs, and they think they can actually utilise it within the entire organisation.
Exactly, yeah, and you're touching on shadow AI, which is where employees within a company are using AI for work activities that is not a paid work account or business account. So yeah, that is an interesting area for business leaders for sure. And so I think that it's that balance between enabling your employees and empowering them to be creative and play. We always encourage companies to play with technology and make it work. But you're absolutely right that there is a point at which, to make the investment worthwhile and to make sure that everything is connected and traveling in the right direction as a business, you do need to step back and plan that roadmap out.
The next topic, I mean, I've got avoiding wasted spend, but I guess this kind of links into what we've just been talking about, because if you go about deploying a solution too rapidly and without the proper due diligence and testing and all that kind of stuff, that's going to result in wasted spend. Are there any other ways that a company can make sure that they either save on making bad decisions or use AI to save wastage within the firm?
I'd actually flip that on its head, because what we've seen a lot in the past is that businesses spend a lot of money automating processes.
Yeah.
And actually they're processes that maybe don't really need to be automated, or the benefit of that isn't creating an ROI.
Right, I've got you.
AI has enabled people to do is super quickly create a prototype or test automating a process. It might not be kind of production ready or scalable tech or build, but they very quickly determined whether this is a process that should be automated, whether it's having a positive ROI, and therefore actually whether it's worth investing some money in building that properly.
Yeah.
So interestingly, I'm almost seeing it being the other way around, where testing super quickly, understanding if it's worth investing in is one of the ways that we've seen businesses actually not make investments and therefore save money.
So if you run a business and you want to explore utilising AI, whether it's getting a tool developed or completely revamping your organisational infrastructure, or whatever the case may be, obviously we've got yourselves at DATA3, but you might not be the right fit, or you might not be in the right geographical area. There'll be businesses across the entire country, indeed county, thinking, okay, what are the steps with regards to choosing the right tools and the right vendors? This is your kind of line of work. So how would you advise people in charge to set off on the first step at least?
I think the first place to start is what are you using at the moment? What tools have you got in place? So probably about 80% of our customers are Microsoft-based businesses. So starting by using Copilot is probably an easy first step. It's easy to switch on, it's fairly cheap, and you can give that confidently to employees. And so I think just where are you today? What makes sense for you and the tech that you've already got in place? I then think it's taking that a step further. It's empowering some of those employees and your team members to like I said, play with it and be confident and enable them to use it. An example that I wanted to share with you is recently met a business that actually is providing a cash incentive to employees who develop an automated workflow using AI that has a positive return. So they're going out of their way to incentivize their employees to think creatively and move away from this is how we've always done it to how can we do it in future with AI.
And again, going back to what you were saying earlier, the positive return might be some general cost savings, or it might just be efficiency in getting the job done quicker, or indeed an improvement in accuracy.
Yeah, all of those things. Exactly that. So that that there are a few of the ways that start to think about it, and because AI is moving so quickly, you've got, for example, Copilot Co-work now that can do such amazing things. It can send emails for you, it can send reminders to your team, it can actually take actions on your behalf, basically. And so tech is moving so quickly as well that just being curious and staying on the front of that is, I think, really beneficial.
How do you go about developing a strategy then? So and I guess as well, testing the strategy before you deploy it and testing all the experimentation before you roll it out. There's going to be some logical steps to work through, and I guess one of the first things is to have that roadmap, that strategy, that needs and wants, that way of evaluating.
Yeah, absolutely. So we would typically start by looking at the requirements of the business. So sort of what I was talking about earlier about being business led. What are the requirements? What are you trying to achieve? Where are you trying to get to as a company? That in our opinion is always the best place to start, and working backwards from there. And then it's a case of each department, each division in your company might work slightly differently, and will use different tools. So marketing, finance, ops, HR. There's so many different areas of a business. Understanding what their requirements are, what systems they're using, what data they have, and how they're operating today. One of the things that we would typically look at, and that the business owners and leaders can do themselves, is how many days are being spent on different processes within a department. Finance teams can often be sort of a low-hanging fruit of time spent crunching Excels and downloading CSVs to amalgamate them and then present that in a board pack. Doing that bit of research or those kind of workshops to understand this is where we're trying to get to as a business, and this is how we're operating today with all the different systems and the time spent, etc. How can we use tech to change that to get to where we want to get to?
On your bio, it says, Alex, and I quote unquote, is all about cutting through the hype and making data and AI work in the real world. You must have seen and experienced some real head in your hands, like, oh no, moments where people have made such bad decisions because they've gone with the hype, or they've gone with the marketeers. They've made just flicker of an eye kind of deciding factors within the business. Have you got any examples of where, if they'd have got Alex in, it wouldn't have gone pear-shaped, yeah?
It's a really it's a great question, because I think the stat that I read the other day is that 80% of AI projects fail. 80%. 80. I don't have a really juicy example for you.
It's only because you don't want to spill the gossip about anyone, isn't it? You're too nice. Yeah.
But it's very, very interesting, the different levels of cynicism and enthusiasm that I see across business leaders. Some leaders are just not quite in denial, but just I think a bit fearful or not sure about how it's going to impact the future, and sort of very much want to see what other companies and perhaps their competitors do first before they take action. Other business leaders are like, we should have done this 6 months ago, let's get going right now, really on the front foot. So I don't have a specific example.
That's a really interesting point there, because there are pros and cons of both those methodologies, aren't there? You could be an organisation whereby you think, okay, I'm just going to hold on for a little bit and see what our competitors, and let them make the mistakes first, and you can learn from the competitors' mistakes. Yeah. Or you want to be a trailblazer and you want to be a trendsetter and you want to get to the fruit quicker. Yeah.
I personally think that the tech is evolving so quickly that essentially some competitors started a long time ago, and there's so much that has already happened, there's so much that could be doing, that the people that are still holding fire and waiting to see what others are doing are going to be a long way behind. Because one thing that we always see as well is that there is a huge cultural shift sometimes here, and we say that the people element is just as important as the tech element, where your staff and your team need to be brought along that journey. Sometimes we're running hackathons and training sessions and inspiring and educating whole teams, because actually getting people along on that journey is just as important, and that can take a bit of time.
Tell us a little bit about the workshop, because you're going to be in the Speakers Hall. DATA3's going to be taking the stage. For those who aren't here, they're watching at home, they won't be able to see this bit, of course, because you'll be involved in that. But do give us a little bit of an overview about what you'll be entertaining the audience with.
Yeah, so it's a quick fire, very interactive workshop. It's going to be everybody writing stuff down and focused on their businesses. So we're actually not going to mention data and AI for the first half, controversially or not, and we're going to be talking about what I've said there about how to identify what your key metrics are, what the problems are, how you're classed, and then how they are classed, and then how the second half is going to be understanding and sort of explaining how you can use tech to actually solve those. So we're going to approach it slightly differently, aiming to inspire, create some innovative thinking, but the key for us is that whoever attends that workshop walks away with some actions and a way to implement it.
But I've already picked up one of the key points I guess you're covering by the way you've laid it out, is to not just completely dive in, to take a few moments to write your specification, even if it's internal, to figure out what the outputs are and what the inputs you've got available, all those kind of things.
Exactly that, and that's, to be honest, the way that we work with clients as well, or why a lot of clients start with a data and AI strategy with us, because it is exactly that. It's it's great to be playing, and you do need to have that curiosity and innovation, but then you get to the point where it's like, okay, we need to create the roadmap and create the vision for this and put it together holistically.
Excellent. So, before we close, what are your thoughts on the very first Digital Devon event then?
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's really nice to be back down in Devon. I grew up in Plymouth, so it's like coming home, which is lovely. Great buzz, lots of people, lots of great exhibitors. So it's feeling like a really good event, and looking forward to the rest of the day.
Excellent. Well, I hope your workshop goes well.
Thank you.
And of course, for those of you who aren't able to join us, you're going to be missing out, aren't you? Let's face it. So still to come, and with our live streams, we're going to be talking about what's next, the future of digital and AI in the Southwest. We'll also be delving into cybersecurity. There's a subject and a half with lots of legislation to boot. My name is Paul. I'm coming to you live throughout the day from here at the Riviera International Centre in Torquay for Digital Devon Live.